This zombie survival game has bandits, horses, deadly zombies, and hunting, and it's a game you probably haven't played. My journey started with me getting backstabbed in the back by a bandit, coming back geared and getting my revenge, to then just watch my friend die right in front of my eyes, and then me seeking revenge yet again, this time against the hordes. My ultimate goal is to craft a safe haven and survive without dying in the hardest difficulty in HumanitZ. But so far my journey has progressed slow, though I finally catch a break after 15 hours of in the game, and I potentially find the thing that will change my journey forever. So we're here trading with Wesley, and as it turns out, we trade a couple of items for bullets, and we're gonna need them, as you'll soon find out. We decide to head back north to Willow and possibly take over the town up north where she is. We fight a few Z's in our way, but oh boy. What is that? We now encounter our first, what do we call these things? Crawlers? I think that's their new name. This thing is just slowly creeping on me. So because I'm scared, I go ahead and I run to our nearby hero who has saved us so many times already in our past gameplays, Willow, who I gotta say, she's a complete boss. And like I said, we've seen her kill zombies time and time again. She just saves lives. Now after this, we end up finding one of our biggest pieces of loot that we found to date. Oh my god. We return to Willow, who decides to sell us some bullets and a new Desert Eagle. Finally, after an accomplished day of looting, we survive 8 days. But what was coming next, I was not ready for. As I get ready to further loot, I make a huge boneheaded mistake. All right. All right, well, we're gonna bring them all to Willow. Willow, you ready for a fight? And so as Willow has done multiple times, she comes in to help, and while I did a great job taking them out trickle by trickle by trickle, but then things got much worse really quickly due to another huge mistake that I make on my end. I think the bow broke. Okay. Alrighty. As I start shooting a couple rounds of shotgun, thinking I was far away enough from the noise, and boy, was I wrong. Willow gets completely surrounded, and she is tanking what looks like 30 zombies, and she doesn't die. You got this, Willow. You got this. Oh my god. Now in my mind, I'm thinking this lady is absolutely indestructible, and maybe NPCs in this game are indestructible. They just don't die. Sadly, I was wrong. Did she die? Oh my, she didn't die, right? Oh no, Willow didn't die. At this point, I gotta say, I'm pretty upset. I decided I'm gonna clear out this whole town in Willow's name. And that's exactly what I proceed to do. Zombie after zombie dead. And I just became a stone cold zombie killer. That was my goal, to make sure her death wasn't gonna be in vain. Rip to Willow, I gotta say, pour one out for her. And I probably go on and mention her name at least 20 times. She sacrificed her life to save mine, and she paid the ultimate price. And she had saved my life many times before, but here this was her last time. At this point, I go on a huge loot run. I take everything I can from this town, and I decide I gotta start specializing in something, because maybe I could have saved Willow's life. And so since I've enjoyed bows and they're relatively silent, as we saw that shotgun pretty much ruined everything, we went down the bow tree. We also have been continuously collecting car parts throughout this whole thing, and that's one of our biggest goals, to find a car and really find a solution to getting around in the world, because walking, to be frank, has been getting really old. We end up now finding our first book. It's called Ohms and Watts. All right, so we have a book here. All you need to know about electricity unlocks all powered items in the build menu. So I get the feeling we just hit the jackpot on something. Let's see if we can read that. And I am kind of curious. So now it says all the things that are electric. Is that what it was? And we learn everything about electricity now. I'm sure this is going to really play a big part in the future. But the next big thing that happens that completely takes me by surprise. What is that guy over there? That's not a... Holy crap, let's go, guys. We come across our first survivor just walking about, but I wasn't sure if he was friendly or a bandit. Or is that... Holy shit. Hold on. Oh. And so just like that, our first bandit is now dead. He shot first, but man, I was relieved that I wasn't dead and that I was fully armed. because I kind of think that this was the guy who took us out in our first run. This might have been that man. He came back fully armed. He thought the town was safe, and I made sure that he paid the ultimate price for shooting at me first. And so he came in with just a hunting rifle, and that's not too bad. I'm sure this will prove useful down the road, and we find yet another piece to the car puzzle, and that's a fuel pump. And now we are down to finding just one last part for a vehicle that's at home, and that's a starter. We can get that bad boy up and running, and we can finally drive in this game. But at this point, finally, after the town of Willow, that's what I'm calling it anyways, the town, that's going to be her name. I don't know, maybe the town has an official name, but we're going to call it Willow. We decide to journey on a little bit more north, and we ended up taking a lot of Z's on the way. Now at this point, I've gotten much better at combat and really figuring out how to survive in this dangerous world, and it's been satisfying killing zombies left and right, especially since one of the tips that you guys left me in the comments of my last video was to make spears. And I've taken all your comments to heart, and I have implemented them in my game, so keep those comments coming. So I have gotten better at taking out zombies, but right here I end up making a near fatal mistake. Oh my god, I just got bit. Oh jeez. Alright, well, we won't do that again. I wanted to switch to my axe. Oh my god. I turned my back trying to equip a weapon quickly, and I got bit pretty hard. Now, from what I understand, we can't ever get rid of this infection, but you can maybe manage it. I'm not sure, but I think now we have a new objective, and that's to heal from this thing and not die from this plague. Whoa, what are we coming? Holy crap. What was that? Whoa. They do look hostile. And that's kind of the fascinating part for me playing HumanitZ. I don't know if these groups are hostile or if they're just trying to be safe, or are they just generally mean bandits, but it was so fortified and I wasn't even close to prepared to take something like this on. So I hightailed it out, but keep in mind I am playing a nightmare difficulty and I'm not ready for a fight like this because I know it's going to be tough. So I end up going around and I take out a couple Zeds on the way, but then I realize let's do a little bit of looting in this human town on the back end when they're not patrolling. I go ahead, I get into this little cabin, I take some bullets, some shoes, and I steal kind of their stuff. We leave safely, and our next stop ends up being this huge farm. And what attracted me to seeing this farm is I see these beehives, so my hope is just to find maybe like some simple farming things like, you know, seeds and things like that, and we end up taking out more zombies, but I end up hearing something that I didn't think I would hear for a long time in this game. Oh man, are you kidding me right now? We have two horses. But before I can really realize what is happening here, I kind of get a little mini swarmed and I take some huge hits. And so I shift to trying to figure out how to build a saddle for the horses that I just found, because getting a car up and running has been near impossible at this point. I still needed that one car part, the starter, but it just wasn't happening and I wasn't finding it. So seeing that all I needed was a saddle, that's exactly what I decided to focus on and what I wanted to start crafting. And at this point, my attention has now focused entirely on getting that saddle up and running. If you remember in earlier episodes, I actually took out some deer, so I did have some hide back home. So I end up heading back home to start starting this process. We end up building the crafting tables, and sadly I realized we have no nails. The thing is, we need a lot of nails and we need only wood and sticks here though, so that's not too bad. I don't think we have nails. So we start backtracking and we break down a lot of stuff. But as I got home, something insane happens yet again, and I am completely stunned. Holy crap. What the heck is this? Holy mother of... What? Here, all right, let's equip the bow. What the heck, man? We got a whole horde over here. Now at this point I'm worried because we did set up the hide to start being cured, and I was worried they were going to destroy it as it takes 90 minutes for the hide to be fully cured for the saddle. These zombies are destroying everything, it looks like, and them destroying this would be devastating. We do finally take them out mostly. Luckily nothing gets destroyed, but I do have PTSD after Willow died, so I did assume, or at least I couldn't assume, nothing in this game was going to be indestructible. So I was really glad I got in there and we got to pick them off because the time gates on making this saddle are a little bit insane, because from this point on we almost are running around for 2 hours just pretty much wasting time. Not necessarily wasting time, but waiting for this saddle. So we're crafting, we're building things up, and I'm sorting my base around, getting more water. Basically nothing super interesting. We actually get to try fishing for the first time, and I didn't quite understand how to do it, but we did catch 2 fish, and I thought that was pretty neat. The fishing in this game is pretty interesting. And so because we needed to spend more time, I decided let's go ahead and find some more areas to loot. We come across a mobile home and it's dark, there's a lot of thunder, and it's relatively dangerous. We take out some Z's in the dead of night with no worry, and I gotta say, coming here ends up being worth it. We loot some multivitamins and medicine in one of the cabin's bathrooms. Again, this is gonna help with our infection because it's super bad right now and it's a huge worry of mine. We end up running into a new trader. Now, I'm super worried about everybody we see, but she's friendly, so I was a little cautious, but her name is Sophie. And at this point, we travel a little bit further down the road and we run into yet another hostile enclave. This one looks even more fortified and dangerous than the last one before.
All right, we are coming up on, that looks like a man-made spot. And so a Ruger rifle, holy crap, let's go. No, those guys aren't friendly. The stop signs are what tell you they're not friendly. And it's an entire fortress. That is crazy.
I do try to get close, but something didn't seem too right. I wanted to see if they were friendly by chance, and sadly, they weren't. I decided not to fight because I don't know what kind of trouble we could get in, but we move on yet again. At this point, I'm ready to go back, but I see something in the distance, and I realize, holy crap, there is a ton of cars. Could I finally find my last car? So a new van has appeared, and this is probably going to be my long-term van that I'll come back to. But without car parts, we can't take it. I decide to scavenge the area in hopes that I can find the parts we need, completely forgetting about the saddle at this very moment, since I mean really we were just waiting for the crafting process to happen. But I think at this point I was so into what I was doing, I actually think the saddle had already been done for some time, but I wanted to clear the area anyways. And so we loot the area, we find a tarp which could be used for another rainwater collector, and that gets me excited. Sadly, no starter or other car parts to be found other than that van that we found in the junkyard. I end up moving on, but I run into a little trouble fighting some Z's.
Oh no, we're gonna die. Woo!
Now we clear this pretty well. We find our second tarp out in the world, and that's amazing because one of you in the comments told me to build up a bunch of rain collectors, and I think that's going to be the plan. Now we end up coming across our first lock-picking situation, and I have to say this was something else. Ironically, the shed behind the car I just lock-picked was also locked, but this didn't go as well.
No! 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 God, I suck at that thing. That is the hardest lockpicking system I've ever seen.
Now, despite my anger, nearby we see a little bit of ray of hope, and there is a ton of hay. And so I know from the tutorial, hay is a legit source of food for my future horse. So I decide to make a mental note that this is where it's at on the map, and I finally decide, let's finally go get our saddle. But we'll go a different way back home to see if we run into anything on the way, maybe some loot, maybe something interesting. And we do. We end up finding a new trader, and his name is Kai, and he has some awesome items that I get really excited to trade for, and he also has a new quest to get him a lighter. Now I try to find some things to trade with him so we can have a fair trade with these new items, but I decided I wanted to return later and find some better items to trade him that, you know, didn't screw me over. But when I looked up, I realized we are in huge trouble.
We got a horde coming. Oh crap. Oh no, we're gonna die. Woo! Oh, load up, load up, load up, load up, guys. We are not letting him die. He has too much stuff. Oh! We're bleeding for some reason. I have no idea why. We can't let him die. We can't let him die. We're not letting another person die. Oh God, we are not letting him die. Did he die? No.
And so just another friend we just met, R.I.P. Kai, he died. And at this point, I feel like I'm just having nothing but bad luck, especially for our friendly survivors out in the world. I really tried to keep them alive, but sadly, the apocalypse takes another life. We go back home now. I'm depressed. I'm carless. I have no way to get around. So I decide to regroup, focus our efforts back on getting a horse. We trade with Wesley, who ends up having a crowbar, so hopefully locked doors don't become an issue, and we end our day on that transaction. We are now 16 days survived in the apocalypse, and while our home currently is temporary, at this point I gotta say I feel slightly defeated, almost to the point where I just want to quit. But our saddle does get crafted and we're good to go. And so basically our last thing here now is to just see if we can do this. Head north. But again, we have one last obstacle that stands in our way. We run into a survivor that was not letting it happen, and he shoots me first.
Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Son of a gun. Oh, my God.
So we decide to just move to the right. We clear some Z's, and we move forward to get our horse.
We do have a saddle. All right, there we go. Hold for storage, sure. Oh, okay. That's all the storage we have is 2 slots. All right. So we have a goal. We have our first horse. We have a goal, though.
We saddle him up and then we head to go get him some hay. But I mean, we end up running on our way to that hay into the craziest trader we've ever seen in Undead Baron. And he literally steals my boots, or I actually give him my boots due to fear of death and just the constant PTSD from this experience. So I decide 2 can play this game. I steal his nearby stuff with my new crowbar and I sell him back his own grenade for a new pair of shoes. And I don't think either one of us won this trade. I actually get worse shoes as I had military boots and he only gets his stuff back. So while I took shoes from him, ultimately I lost overall because I got the worst shoes, but oh well, at least I didn't die. But funny enough, this isn't the end of our horse journey. And while I love galloping on this awesome black horse, I decide to go a little bit north to see if we can farm that hay, and I come across a new golden horse. And her name's Lucy, and she almost comes in like a ray of sunshine. I take my saddle off our poor black horse, and I never named him. Hopefully he can go free into the world and not get killed by any zombies or random humans. And I decide to start a long forever journey with Lucy, our golden horse. But sadly, the road is still nowhere near done. With no true home base, no vehicle, no farming or prospects, and the constant death of our peers, the journey is now truly starting. But at least we have our first companion that will be with us the entire way.